Well, hey there guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video. Today I'm going to talk about my N64 collection. It was the first home console I had as a kid, and of course I have a lot of great memories to this little system. Now currently my collection is 130 games of the N64 full set, which is about 388 games in total, including all the Japanese ones. The USA full set is about 296 games, and the PAL full set is 242. So I'm kind of going for that PAL full set. I have 130 games. Every single one of them is going to be shown in this little collection video. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them though, because that would just take too freaking long. Let's start with the box. Now, this was the N64 console I got as a kid, so none of the fancy ones, none of the translucent colors or anything like that. Just the regular pack thing. Now, this was released in 1996 in Japan and in the USA, and it took till 1997 to come to Europe. Beforehand, this was actually advertised as the Ultra 64 or the Nintendo Ultra 64 system. As you can see in this little Nintendo magazine I got out of the UK, there's a couple pages in here actually that are pretty cool. So they're talking about the new N64, so it's a 64-bit system that will release on April in 1996 in the UK. Apparently that's what they were aiming for. However, it did come to Europe only in 97. It was going to retail for 200 quid. It also had an original retail price of $200 back in the USA. And it just shows you just a bit of the games coming up. We got Mario 64, the first Mario 3D platforming game. Then there's some more speculations on which games are going to come out, and that's about it. It was supposed to be called the NU 64, so the Nintendo Ultra 64, but they just dropped the Ultra. They went for Nintendo 64, and that's what I got for my birthday in 1997, I guess. I have so much fond memories to this box. I got it with Mario 64, which I love. It's a great platforming game. Really set the tone for all the other 3D platformers coming after it, at least for me. It's a personal opinion, guys. But the thing I love about this box is just the previews you get with this box. So you have, you got Mario, you got Killer Instinct, you have Star Wars stuff on here, and if we look at the back, we even have some more stuff like the Wave Race, Violet Wings, and this was pretty neat. They didn't do this for the Super Nintendo or anything like that. Of course, you have an overview of all the colors of the controllers. I have a couple lined up over here, but we'll get to that later. Now, this is not the console I had as a kid. This is one I saw at a garage sale, and I said, I have to have this, so I got it complete in box because I wanted to get a complete in box copy. I had my box for the longest time, but then somewhere down the line my mom threw out the box. I do still have the console. This is the original console I had as a kid. It still works. It still works perfectly. And after I got Mario Kart, my mom bought me a second controller, which I started using as my main controller, a black one, just because, well, it's a two-player game. Nintendo 64 was great for playing four-player games. Of course, you have the 4 ports over here, and I just needed to get a second controller to play with my friends. Apart from the regular system, the only system variant I have is the Nintendo 64 Pikachu Edition. Yeah, I probably should have cleaned this stuff. It's all dusty, but I'm currently reorganizing the game room. Gonna do a game room tour soon. So yeah, let's take a look at this Pikachu Edition. One of the buttons is his foot, and you have a Pokeball that sets it off. This one I actually bought over at a flea market. It was kind of pricey. I think I paid 40 euros for this, but I was like, how often am I going to come across this one at this price with the extra controller? It's not really a flea market price, but I decided to go for it. I mean, the controller is in good shape, so this is the special controller that came with the tiny little system. Didn't come with a expansion pack though, but of course we're gonna get to that just a bit later. So next up, I think we need to take a look at some of the games I had growing up. Let me just pop them right over here. So yeah, these are all the games I had as a kid growing up. Every time I had a good report card, or I had a birthday, or it was Christmas, I would get a game for the Game Boy or for the N64, and these are the games I got as a kid. Well, the first game I had was, of course, Mario 64. Who didn't have this game? It's actually one of the best-selling games of the 5th generation. This one had 11 million sold units, compared to Final Fantasy VII that only had 9.8 million, I think. And yeah, I just have a lot of great memories to this little game right here. Well, it's actually quite big. So many stars you can go and look for, and it was the first Mario game that went in the 3D direction, of course. So that was a really fun one to have. Then from there, I got Mario Kart 64, another Mario game, but well, you know, they took the game from the SNES and they just went further with it, turning it into a 3D racing game, and it was fun. It was great. It made me buy the second controller so I could have my friends come over and play with it too, because the main competitors around the time of the N64 were the Sega Saturn, which I knew no kid had that. I never saw a Sega Saturn before I started retro collecting, but most people had a PlayStation. Almost everybody had a PlayStation. There was like 4 kids in school that also had an N64, so it was kind of lonely as a Nintendo kid, but you know, friends would come over and you would have a second controller and they could play, and then when I would go over to their PlayStation racing games, I'd be like, what the frick is this? I can't control this. 007, The World Is Not Enough. Yeah, I didn't grow up with GoldenEye. I know, it's insane, but I was really into 007, and this is actually one of the only games that I still have the box for. As you can see, I popped a little sticker over here. I actually used this little box to store all my manuals in, and that's why it survived. It came from Engelbert's, which is the toy store that's still running today in our town. So much great memories. I love going there. I still go there to buy games. I even bought Super Mario U Brothers there last week. A fun first-person shooter, and the N64, of course, had a ton of these. It was all the rage, you know, with the PC gaming, Doom, Duke Nukem, all that shit. Going from there, I also got Perfect Dark, and this is where it got tricky. For Perfect Dark, you needed the expansion pack, so I got the game, I bought the game, I plugged it in, and it wouldn't work, and then I was like, Mom, this game doesn't work, so we went back to the store, and then they said, oh, you need an expansion pack. Okay, well, we'll buy an expansion pack. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I can't save in the game. How am I supposed to play this? Because, you know, you're 2 hours in, you got into a couple levels, and then when you reboot the system, you start over from scratch. Of course, you're used to it, because with the SNES or the NES, that was basically the story each time. But I was thinking, like, hey, shouldn't I be able to save? Because the game says you can save, and that's when we got the memory card. So, another accessory added to the bunch of things, you know. This is also a rare title, and I was really into the rare titles back then, because I also got Banjo and Kazooie, which to me was kind of like a Mario 64 2 that they never made. It was amazing. I love this game. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, it's for kids, but so many great memories to this little game right here. It's so much fun. And another rare title is the Diddy Kong Racing, which is pretty much Mario Kart 64 Deluxe. There's so many levels in this one. There's even boss fights. And you may probably ask, hey, how does that work, a boss fight in a racing game? There's like this huge boss that you have to stay in front of and finish the race. So that's... I don't know if they stole it from like another gaming series or something, but that to me was like, oh, this is awesome. There's actually boss fights in here. So yeah, not only... Racing wasn't the only thing me and my friend were really into. We were also into Mortal Kombat. We used to go to the swimming pool every Friday, and there was a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine there. So, next report card, I was like, hey, I want to get a Mortal Kombat game. And they had Mortal Kombat Trilogy over at the Engelbert store where I got all my games. And I was like, yeah, I want that one. So, this was definitely fun. Again, you can play 2-player. It's the only game I don't have the box for, so I still have the manual, so if you have a box laying around that you don't need, maybe we can work out a trade. But again, a very fun game. I still love it. I think, like any games that you grew up with, you have a nostalgic connection with anyway, so There we go. Another thing I got as a kid was this Pokemon Stadium thing that came with a transfer pack. It's also a differently shaped box than I think you had in America. So this is the PAL box thingy. Me and my friend used to play the 2-player games the most. I didn't really use the Stadium or tried fighting. I thought that was kind of boring. I thought it worked a lot better on the actual Game Boy. So what you could do is you'd have your Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, and Red, and you could plug it in with the transfer pack and actually play with the Pokemon you were playing Pokemon Blue with. So that's pretty neat. Another big box that I had as a kid was this Lylat Wars. Yeah, so this is actually Star Fox 64. I don't know why they renamed it to Lylat Wars over here. Anyways, I saw this over at a friend's house and I was like, I need to get this game, and there it was in the big box. It came with a Rumble Pack, which is the accessory that you plug in, you put some batteries in, and it rumbles like the Dual Shock thing for PlayStation. I don't know if that was to compete with it or anything, but it was cool, and I loved this game. So yeah, this is like the space shooter I always wanted to have back then. So these were all the games I had growing up. I think that was a pretty good collection, lots of solid titles, at least for me, but there were a couple ones I think I missed out on. So we're gonna talk about the ones I used to borrow from friends, and then a couple games I have in my collection that I'm like, hey, I wish I knew about this when I was growing up. Let me just clean this off right here. So back in the day, we didn't really have Nintendo 64 rental stores or anything, like a video store that would rent out games. But you know, you get a friend and you say like, hey, can I borrow this game over the weekend? You can borrow this copy of mine or something. And that's how we learned about new games, and then we ended up buying them, maybe like this Star Fox game. One of the most fun racing games, at least to me, is this Cruisin' World game. So you also had Cruising USA, but this is one I borrowed once and I played it 2 weeks to death. So much fun. I'm not really that into racing, apart from, you know, the kart racing games, but this definitely got me hooked, and I love it. Cruisin' World. Another game you couldn't really go without is, of course, Smash Brothers. This was the first one in the long-lasting series that's still coming out now. I think Ultimate Smash Deluxe just came out or something. Again, it's from Engelbert's, but this box came from a friend of mine, Sam. He was like, oh, you want to buy the box? I was like, yeah, sure, I want to buy the box. I think this is a pretty cool game, and I wish I had it back in the day. I borrowed that from a friend, played a lot, and totally loved it. Smash Brothers. Then, another game I really didn't like, actually, when I played it first. A friend of mine was like, hey, there's this game, I really like it, you should totally check it out, and that was Zelda Ocarina of Time. Like I've said a dozen times before, I never played Zelda on the SNES or on the NES in my childhood. I only started playing it when I started retro collecting. But yeah, Zelda Ocarina of Time is the first one I heard about, and I didn't finish the game back when I was a kid because, well, I had to give it back after like a month or something, but it definitely was a cool game, and I don't know why I didn't ask for it, because I definitely wanted to complete it back then. Wave Race 64, totally love this game. I also like the Blue Crush one on GameCube. I really like the colors in this game, and wave racing, I don't know, it just looked quirky. You know, as a kid, you play with what you get, and you don't really think about it, but somehow this game, when I see it, it still brings a smile to my face, so totally in love with this one. And then lastly, maybe a lesser known game is this Space Station Silicon Valley, which to me always felt kind of like a Kirby kind of thing, because what you basically are in here is there's worlds where you need to solve puzzles, and the way you do it is that you're a microchip, and you can take control of any animal within the level or within the hub world that you're in, and you can use it to your advantage to solve these puzzles. So Silicon Valley was definitely a really cool game I wish I had back then, and I of course had to get it in the box now. So yeah, these were the games I know. Oh, not that one. I know I borrowed back in the day, and that's why I wanted to talk about them, and well, I have them now, so it's all good. So yeah, those were some of the games I had back then, and I definitely wanted to talk about them. There's 2 games I wish I knew about when I was growing up. I wish I had asked my parents for these, and first off, we got Zelda Majora's Mask. If I didn't get Ocarina of Time, I should have asked for Majora's Mask. I mean, I had the expansion pack and everything like that, so it would have worked, and this one is a lot darker than Ocarina of Time. I didn't play this one till the 3DS remaster came out, and I totally loved it with, you know, the Dark Moon and all the horror bits in there. It's pretty neat. For me, this game is definitely in the top 3 next to Breath of the Wild and, of course, Link to the Past. And then the second to last game I wish I knew about is Banjo-Tooie, because I loved Banjo and Kazooie growing up. So this one was like, even if it's not as good as the first one, I still wish I had it. But yeah, now I have it. I still haven't played it, actually, so I should probably get to completing this once at least. I heard that it's not as good as the first one, but hey, it's still a rare title, and by rare, when I use rare in this video, I mean the rare developer, not like a uncommon game or anything. This one is a bit more uncommon, but hey, that's it. And talking about rare games, this is a rare game by developer, but also a rare game just by itself. It's uncommon. It's Conker's Bad Fur Day, and this is one of the rare titles where they actually went like, you know, we want to do a fuzzy animal thing again, but let's just turn it around. Let's make it 18 plus. It's about a squirrel that goes out drinking one night and then wakes up and has to like clear his name of like all the stuff that he's done wrong while he was drunk. It's so much fun. There's like a part in there where there's like a Pooh singing an opera and stuff like that.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
So if you can get your hands on this one, definitely check it out and play it. Awesome freaking game. The very next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like a little montage of all the box games I have. So I'll pop some music on that, and then we'll talk a bit about the loose games and a bit about the oddities and accessories on the N64 system. Let's talk a bit about the oddities and about my loose games. There will be a little montage a little later, so I'll show you every single one I have in there. As you can see, I caved in and I got like the tiny sticker things you can put on because, well, these don't have end labels. You know, the Super Nintendo games, the PAL versions didn't even have end labels, so you guys in America were lucky, but over on the N64 library, you suffered the same fate as us, no end labels. And that's when I got like these little sticker sheets right here. They're for the American releases though, so I'm missing just a couple, but I think it's pretty cool because otherwise there's not really a cool way to display them. I'm going to get into a little bit of displaying, but as you can see over here, that looks kind of nice when you put it on a shelf. At least you know what game you're looking at, otherwise it's just a gray area in your shelf. So these were pretty fun. I think you can find these on eBay One of the stickers I didn't have is for this TAS Express game. I think it's a European exclusive because it wasn't on the cheats anywhere. Maybe it's a different name. If you know it, what the name variant is, let me know so I can pop a sticker on there. And then yeah, let's talk about some of the accessories. I spoke about the memory card, which is basically like you had in your PlayStation, a memory card. You had like a couple of docks in there to save a couple files. Then we had the expansion pack. The original N64 came with a jumper pack. You could play most games with there, but games like Perfect Dark, Majora's Mask, and Donkey Kong 64, which was a game that came with the expansion pack inside the little box of the game itself. You need an expansion pack to have, you know, more graphic capabilities or something. I'm not that informed about all the technical mumbo jumbo about this, but yeah, I had to buy it separately, like I told you in the story before, and this is the box I got it in. So yeah, those are two accessories right here. Then, of course, you could buy the controller separately. I have the box for the black one, and I have another gray one right here. It's still in the box. It's actually in there. So yeah, that's in there with some papers and stuff. I never look in these boxes, to be honest. Also, again, love the, you know, the foresight on, hey, these are the games you're gonna get to play with this stuff. So yeah, that's pretty neat. Over here I have a couple of other colored controllers, and then we have this kind of an oddity. This is the transfer pack, but it's a separate transfer pack, so I don't know. I thought it would always come with Pokemon Stadium. Maybe they released this because in Pokemon Stadium 2, the transfer pack didn't come with that, and then you had to buy this separately. But I know of no games where you could use this with otherwise. The only Game Boy game it actually played was the Pokemon games within Pokemon Stadium, so it's not like you could put in your Super Mario Brothers or anything like that. So I have no clue, apart from the Pokemon Stadium 2, why they would make this separately, actually. And then we get to talk about this little oddity right here. This was a promotional tape you could send out. If you bought the Zelda edition of the N64, it came with Zelda Ocarina of Time, of course, but the guys at Nintendo wanted everyone to have Mario 64. It wasn't a packing game in that pack, so, well, you could get it for free if you filled out a form, and then you would get this little sneaky videotape. Basically what it is, it's just a little promo thing. There's a videotape in there, and you would get Mario 64 sent to your door for free. It's a cool thing to have, but it's totally busted, this one. I don't know if how much I don't know how much longer this thing is gonna hold, but yeah. Take a little look at the back over here. So that was pretty neat. What other stuff do I have? I have this N64 controller LCD clock keychain. This was given to me by one of the flea market vendors that I used to buy stuff from like every week almost, and she would always come to me first with like, hey, somebody brought this in, what is it actually? And every now and then she would get like this weird stuff like these keychains, and then she would just give it to me for free, because, you know, I would help her out with figuring out, hey, is this something that's worth a bit or not? And I bought a lot of cool stuff from that lady, so it's definitely fun to see. Then one more thing I want to talk about are these display thingies you would get with the N64 magazine thing. I got it as a kid, and I bought a couple more, as you can see over here over at conventions. Usually you can find them in like the garbage boxes that have like €1 or €2 items in there. So this is from UK's best-selling Nintendo 64 magazine, which I guess is this one actually. Okay, so somewhere down the line I got a magazine like this. It's probably not this one, but hey, still cool. This used to hold my games as a kid, and now I still use it, kinda. It's not perfect, but it does the job well, you know. You can fit 6 games in there, and well, you can still look at them. You can fit 6 games in there. It looks pretty neat. Not that you can really check out which games are in there too well, unless you have the end labels, but hey, it's still cool. And I think now we're going to finish off with a look at all of my loose games. So yeah guys, thanks so much for checking out this collection video. I have a lot more videos on my channel. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, maybe leave a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video on Monday. See you later. Bye.